Good afternoon, everyone. You're most welcome to our AWS seminar. Today, our speaker is Dr. Angela, a lecturer at AIMS, Ghana. She's also the co-founder of, actually, she's the founder. She's the founder of FemAfric Maths that promotes African female mathematicians. And she also works in algebra, non-commutative algebra in particular. Dr. Angela, you're most welcome. Today, she's talking about increasing visibility as a mathematician. You're most welcome, Dr. Angela.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I'd like to say thank you to you and the team for inviting me to speak. I remember we had some conversations about likely things I can present on. These were suggestions I made. I took a break, but I'm back and it's great to be back with this seminar. So hello, everyone. I'm Angela, and this talk is going to be very interactive. And also, you have to do a bit of maybe writing or thinking through it to get some of your ideas on paper. So I'll first start with a Mentimeter interaction. So I'd like you to go to Mentimeter. So I'm going to put the link in the chat box. So you can go to menti.com and use the code here. So there's a code here, 765-73505. So, or I'll also copy the link and also share with you, just to create some interactive game. So I'd like you to go to menti.com and use the code 765-73504 for us to see some interactive responses. So the first question is, type the names of people in the audience who you have personally met before. So I'm also going to go into so you go to menti.com. Once you go to menti.com, it will ask you for the code. So the code for this is 7653. So 7653. Oh, sorry, 7657-3504. Then you can input your responses. Okay, so the question is, type the name of people in the audience you have personally met before. Okay, so I will type my response. Once you type your response, we will see it pop up on the screen. So I've typed in my response. Is anyone having challenges? Okay, so I'll just put in so you click on menti.com. I'm typing it in the chat box. Once you click on menti.com, then you use the code 7657-3504. Okay. Is anyone else logged in? I'd like you to put in your response so we can have an interactive session. So go to menti.com. I am the one who typed in Annette. So I've met Annette in person, and that was in Tanzania some years back. Is there anyone else in the audience who has met others in person? I'm sure, right? So let's put in our input. So go to menti.com and use the code. Yeah. Hope you can all hear me since I'm just speaking to myself, but hope you can all hear me. At least let me see some responses from you to know that you can hear me and you are involved in this. Okay, Sarah. Okay, great. Oh, someone also put Angela. Okay, I guess. Annette, anyone else? So we have about 8 of us or 7 of us here this afternoon. Type the name of anyone in this audience that you have met in person before. Type the name of anyone in this audience that you have met in person before. So we have here myself, there's Annette, there's Sarah, there's Huda, there's John Joseph, there's Scholastica and Taiwo. Is this all? Oh, I see. Hi. Any more responses of people you have met personally in the audience before? Okay, I'll move to my next slide so I don't spend too much time. Yeah. Yeah, so next, how about people in the audience that you have met virtually before? People in the audience that you have met virtually before. People in the audience that you have met virtually before. I'm waiting for your responses. Just go to menti.com and use the code in the chat box. Okay, so I see the names popping up. It's good to see that we are all here. I'll leave it for a few seconds for you to type in your response. So we've now moved to how many people in the audience have you met virtually before? So I see almost every name pop up here, right? I see Annette, I see Taiwo, I see Huda, I see Sarah, I see Angela, and what about Scholastica? Who has met Scholastica online, virtually, or John Joseph online before? Oh, I see Scholar there. Oh, I see Carol. Okay. Who else in the audience have you met online before? Great. Okay, great. So I'm sure you have seen from the two responses here that from the first slide where we had people that you have met in person, we had very few responses, right? I only see Annette, myself, and Sarah here, right? But when we move to people that you had met virtually, almost everyone's name popped up, right? Which highlights the point that you are more likely to meet more people virtually than in person. So if you can improve ways of making yourself visible virtually, you get to reach a very wide audience. So at the end of this talk, the goal is that I'm going to show you some of the ways I use to increase my visibility online. There will be some activities to help you to improve on how you are visible online, and hopefully this becomes helpful to you in your career as a mathematician. Great. So preparing for this talk, I just Googled my name, right? I went to Google, then I put in my name. I wanted to see what comes up, right? From the abstract of the talk, I mentioned consciously making the effort to leave some footprints of yourself on the internet. So this is the first thing that comes up. First is my Twitter or X account, right? Which is something I have intentionally put out there, and I used to highlight what I do. So these are some posts, but there's also this LMS video of myself where I spoke at the Black Heroes of Mathematics conference, where I spoke about female African mathematicians. So I love talking about female African mathematicians. I'm happy to be here. But one of the first articles that pops up is Ames Ghana, my profile on Ames Ghana. Then my LinkedIn profile pops up. So analyzing these, you realize that, yes, my Ames Ghana profile is something that the institution I work with has intentionally put out there. But on this first half page here, most of the things here are things that I intentionally put out there. So for instance, my LinkedIn profile, my X profile, and also the video of myself speaking at the London Mathematical, at the Black Heroes of Maths conference. So I did a short exercise. I Googled a few of us here, and I would like us to highlight the fact that it's important that we consciously make ourselves visible by what we put out there on the internet. Okay. So I'll start with this. What image do you want to reflect? Now, when people see your name online, what do you want them to think of? So I'll start with myself and write a few things about what I want reflected. So I want people to see me as an algebraist, So in my introduction, Sarah mentioned that my research is in algebra and I do non-commutative algebra. So when people see me or hear my name, I want this to be something that comes into mind. The second thing that I want them to come into mind is academic management. So here at AIMS, I manage some of our programs here. So I manage the Girls Mathematical Sciences program, which promotes maths among secondary school girls in Ghana. I also manage our online master's program for teachers. So when people see me, I want that to be a reflection. Oh, yeah, this is Angela. She manages the Girls Maths program and our teachers program. But also another identity that I want to see reflected is what I do in promoting women in mathematics, right? So I first met Annette in Tanzania. I think it was 2018. We went for EAUMP workshop, and after the conference, we took some pictures. That was when I was first starting Fem Afrique Maths, and we coordinated with all the female participants, and we took some pictures, right? And then those were things I was doing to promote women in mathematics in general. But of course, my focus is on female African mathematicians, which led me to form Fem Afrique Maths. So anytime you see me, I want, so this is Angela. She's always promoting female African mathematicians. That's something I want to see reflected. But if you want to promote females in maths, it should first also start from girls, right? Because it's the girls who grow up to become the women who are studying mathematics. So this is something I'm promoting more now, especially with the job I do at AIMS, where I manage our girls program, which is for secondary school girls. And the final thing I want to see being promoted is science communication. So people know me online as Angela is the one who did a dance to highlight her research. So if you've not seen the video, I'll put the link in the chat box. So when I was a PhD student, I did a science slam talk where I talked about my non-commutative algebra research using very simple things like addition, multiplication, and a dance, right? So when people see me online, they see me as that mathematician who demystified mathematics. Okay, so that's about me, right? But I want to also make it a bit practical. So I'll talk about Sarah. So I've not met Sarah in person before, right? I've only met her virtually, right? But when I see Sarah, what comes into mind when I think of Sarah? So when I think of Sarah, I think of someone who is a commutative algebraist, right? So Sarah does commutative algebra. I've been in seminars where she has spoken about her research. So when I see something on commutative algebra, she's one of the first people that's coming to mind. But I also see her as someone who loves to organize women in maths. She loves organizing women in maths to do things. Not just that, but she also promotes that among African women in algebra, which is something that she co-founded with Annette and the rest, right? So these are identities that even though I've not met Sarah in person, these are things that come into mind whenever I'm mentioning her name. But as a mathematician, right? So if you look here, the things I have written here are a blend of serious mathematics and also other things, right? So maybe this part is mathematics, but these other parts involve either public engagement or management at university. So there are a number of things you can highlight in terms of your visibility, right? So I'm going to focus on them in batches. So as a mathematician, how can you amplify yourself, or how can you make yourself visible, right? If you recall from the Google search I shared with you, right, one of the first things that appeared when I searched for my name was my university profile. So one of the first ways you can amplify yourself or make yourself visible is your university profile. Now, usually your university profile is something you write about yourself. So usually the university will ask you, give us a bio for us to put online for you. So this is one good way to highlight yourself, because it's what you say about yourself that will be put out there by the university. And it talks about yourself as a mathematician. So it talks about when you finished your PhD, some of your research publications, some of your students. So it gives a very comprehensive profile of yourself, right? But another way you can make yourself visible as a mathematician is also through seminars, right? Seminars. I'm speaking here at the seminar, and because of that, I've reached an audience, right? Who, of course, this seminar is not about mathematics, right? But if it was supposed to be a mathematics audience, through this speaking at this seminar, I would be able to make my maths known and highlight myself as a mathematician, right? When we talk about seminars, and of course, conferences also coming, right? So conferences, you meet people, you talk about your maths, right? Another way is through collaborative research, right? So there are research projects where we propose projects, and maybe for 1 week you come together to work together as mathematicians on a project, and at the end you come out with some result. So these are ways that people get to see you, right? Usually on these collaborative projects, you come from different either countries or even continents, and you come together to work as mathematician. It also makes you visible, right? Because once you come together, people get to see that, oh, okay, this is Sarah, and she's in Uganda, and she's in algebra. Okay, and you meet people from different, and it also makes you visible. It connects you to another audience. Which other way can you highlight yourself as a mathematician? Now, another way you can highlight yourself as a mathematician is through you supervising students, right? Because it's through, once you supervise students, it gives you another platform for you to highlight the maths that you do. Your name appears on the university's website that you supervise them. It also appears on the thesis that they upload online. If you get to write a paper online, if you get to write a paper with your students, also gets highlighted. So these are some of the ways we can highlight ourselves as mathematicians, right? But it goes beyond that, right? We do maths, but we also do other things. As mathematicians, we sometimes do university administration, where we manage programs. So one way you can also highlight yourself as an administrator, right, is to start new programs. Now, I mentioned, Sarah, I'm going to use you a lot as an example here. So I've not met Sarah in person before, right? But I mentioned that I know her as someone who organizes things, right? Who starts new things. So Sarah started with the African Women in Algebra, right? Which is something that's she's now visible for starting something new, a new program. So one other way you can make yourself visible is, I'm sure when you're starting new things, you contact a lot of people. Sarah has contacted African women from all across the continent, right? So I'm speaking from Ghana, their audience from Uganda and other places joining, right? So you see, Sarah started as someone, let's say, from Uganda, right? But through the idea of starting a new program, she's made herself visible from all across Africa, and not just Africa and the world. So one good way to make yourself visible is to start new programs. But of course, we don't always have to start new programs, right? We can also manage existing programs. Okay. So here for myself, I manage our teachers program, which was started. I didn't start managing the program when it started, but now with me managing it, I'm reaching our students who are not just in Ghana, but in Africa. I'm also reaching the lecturers, teaching them who are not just coming from Ghana, but coming from all across the world. And with that, I'm also making myself visible in line with this, right? Now I move further to women and girls in mathematics. How can you make yourself visible, right? But of course, it's in line with what we spoke about on the previous slide, right? You can support existing initiatives, right? So I'm here at the African Women in Algebra seminar. The announcement for the seminar was sent out, right? And I'm reaching another audience by supporting this initiative. So it also helps me to reach a wide audience by supporting people, Sarah and the rest who are doing this. But I can also make myself visible by starting something new, starting new initiatives. So I mentioned Femme Afrique Mass. So I started Femme Afrique Mass when I was a PhD student in Glasgow. I was looking for female mathematicians who looked like me, of color like me, and I hardly came across some. At the School of Mathematics and Statistics at the University of Glasgow, we were only 2 Africans. Then at the university, you hardly came up, or even when I went for conferences, I hardly came across female Africans. I asked myself, is it that we didn't exist? And the answer was no, we exist, but we don't see ourselves being highlighted on the internet. So I started Femme Afrique Mass to tell the stories of female African mathematicians so that a young girl, I'm speaking from Accra, but yeah, I'm sure in the audience you have people from all across. So there's someone from Nigeria. So there's a young child in Lagos who can't find role models or mentors around them, using social media to tell their story so that we can have these young girls aspiring to pursue careers in mathematics and related fields. So we can make ourselves visible by starting something new. And I'm sure some people, most people know me because of this that I do. But also, you can also promote other initiatives, promoting initiatives. So at AIMS, I manage the Girls in Mathematical Sciences program, which is for secondary school girls. It's a 9-month mentorship program where we give them a mentor. We have online masterclasses where experts talk about their research. And when they're on vacation, they come to our campus for intense math courses. We go for industrial visits for them to see where mathematics is being applied. So in doing this, I'm promoting that initiative of girls in mathematical sciences and also increasing my visibility in that regard in line with this. Now, how can you do this? So we've talked about promoting yourself as a mathematician, also promoting yourself in terms of other things that you want to be seen for. We all don't have to be seen for academic management or girls in mathematics, but there are things that you will personally want to highlight. So how can you make yourself visible? Now, if you recall from the first slide that I shared, when I searched for my name online, most of the results that came from my social media profiles. So one way you can make yourself visible online is through your social media profiles. Now, for social media, you choose where you want to be, right? There's no one it's not compulsory for you to be on all platforms. You choose what works for you, right? So personally, I'm on Twitter. So if you saw from the slide I shared, Twitter was one of the first things that popped up when I searched for my name. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. Yeah, I'm everywhere, right? I'm on Facebook. And on YouTube, I also upload videos for Femme Afrique Mass. Of course, you don't have to do everything, right? You choose what works for you. I'm not on TikTok. Lately, I post very less on Facebook. So you don't have to be everywhere, right? But you have to be effective where you are. Now, when you go to these places, you don't just have an account there and say, okay, I have an account there, right? It should be something that you are actively using to promote yourself, right? So you should just say for Twitter, I see people post, I even post articles. You can post your research publications when they are out, right? Because you have a wide audience there of people who might be in your field, right? LinkedIn could be somewhere where you post things about your publications, right? People get to see your publications, they get to cite you when they are working in a related area. Yeah, I see Instagram and Facebook as more social for myself. So here I use them to promote more of what I do in terms of public engagements, what I mostly do in terms of science communication, making demystifying what I do. Yeah, and YouTube I use mostly for women in math, and Femme Afrique Maths, promoting female African mathematicians. Okay, so social media. So personally, when I started doing this, social media was something I wanted to leverage on. So when I started Femme Afrique Maths, I was in the UK and I couldn't physically be in Ghana or everywhere in Africa. But I realized the power of social media. That's if I upload videos from Glasgow, I could reach an audience worldwide. Now, on Femme Afrique Maths, if you look at the cities with our topmost audience, we have our top 10 cities, we have 7 of them being African cities, right? Which means that there are people from Kampala, from Lagos, from Accra, from everywhere watching us, which makes you very visible. So there are people who have not even seen you in person, but through your social media, they would have seen you, right? So it's something I learned when I was a PhD student, that it's a very powerful tool you can use to reach a wide audience, to highlight what you do. But another way we can use is through conferences, right? But of course, now with COVID and funding cuts, is something that is becoming very less restrictive, right? Because you might not have all that money to travel in person. Of course, you can attend virtually, right? So for me, these were some of the places where I increased myself. So for instance, anytime I went for conferences, that was when I would interview female African mathematicians that I met, right? Or even network with them, that they realize, oh, okay, there's Angela here in Accra, and she does some non-commutative algebra. And this could be someone coming from Australia, someone coming from somewhere in Asia, or someone coming from another African country. They realize that, oh, okay, there's someone doing this. But also, you can do this by making good use of your skills. Make good use of your skills. So I'm talking about this. So we are all not the same, right? I love to talk, right? So I like to interview people and share their stories, right? That's how come I prefer YouTube, right? Because there I can share videos. I'm very creative, so I can create content. So content on science communication, content that will engage the people. That's why I like Instagram, because I can use that to highlight the skill. So it all depends on you, how to make yourself visible. You can make yourself visible by choosing what you are good at. What skill are you good at? Are you good at writing? People write blogs. So it could be blog posts. It could be videos. People are now on TikTok. People do a lot of things, right? You can make yourself visible either through writing, if you love to write, if you like to be creative, you can create content everywhere. It's not compulsory for us to do the same thing. Now, why is it important to do this? Yes. So personally, when I started making myself visible, was more of, okay, I was a PhD student and we went for we had these courses we had to do every term, right? Every semester. And I started using Twitter because I realized, okay, everyone was tweeting about what we were doing in class. But later on, I realized, okay, there was something more to this, right? There was something more to making yourself visible. And this is I'll share this story. So my first point on why it's important to make yourself visible is it makes you highly employable. So when I finished my PhD, I came back to Ghana and I was looking for a job, right? Of course, I had applied to places. I was so sure I was going to go to certain places. But then I had to, so I met someone, and the person passed the comment that, oh, okay, this Angela, famous Angie, that I've seen your post all around on social media. And this was someone who was going to give me funds for my postdoc research, right? So because the person had seen my works online, the person knew who they were going to commit their money to to make me get this position, right? So you making yourself visible makes you employable. So let's say you apply for a university job or any job outside academia. People usually check online for your profile. Who is this person? What has been some of the previous experience? Of course, you would have shared your CV with them, right? But sometimes people also want to see what's about you online. So it makes you employable, right? Because people get to see you and they know who they are getting into the organization, right? In line with that, it also enables you to get grants or funds or fellowships, right? Yeah, so talking about this, so Sarah shared this fellowship opportunity with me as also a mentoring program, and which I applied for. Now, so we asked those who were selecting, what do they look out for when they are doing their selection? Now, if you apply for a program which is looking for women leaders to nurture them, they would want to check what your previous record has been on leadership. Now, where can they find this? Of course, you would have submitted your CV, but they also want to see some other places where you have highlighted this. On your CV, you write that, okay, I'm the founder of this, I do this outreach. They want to see it online. So what do? They do a quick search of you, and they realize, okay, this is the LinkedIn account of this person. The person is always promoting women. The person is promoting girls on their platform. So this is someone who has those qualities to become a leader, right? And it makes it easy for them to decide to give you that fellowship. So you're not just doing it for yourself, right? Because and even with this, people sit on committees where they decide who to give funding to. Now, through your constant visibility, people get to see that, oh, okay, Angela is here, she's doing this. We giving her this funding is going to promote what she's doing, is going to help her to do more of your research. Otherwise, there are people that you've not heard from in a long time, right? And the only time they get to hear about you is when your application gets in front of them and they realize, okay, it's been 5 years and I don't know what you've been up to. But if you were visible, more visible, they would have seen that, oh, okay, this year, oh, Angela went to this conference, she posted, I saw it, she did this public engagement activity. They realized you are constantly doing things and you're consciously in their mind. It makes it easy for them to give you things. And it also helps you to promote your university, right? Universities employ you, and they also want you to make themselves visible. Now, when people mention me, they mention what? AIMS Ghana, right? Because this is where I'm currently at. So my visibility also makes AIMS Ghana visible. Okay, so what next? I'm going to finish very soon and I'll allow you to ask questions. So what next for you? One thing that I did early on, which has helped me, was I had to identify what identity I wanted to make visible. So what was my identity? When people see my name online, what do I want them to see a reflection of? I mentioned at the beginning, for me, the identity I wanted to see was an identity of an algebraist, an identity of someone who promotes women in mathematics, someone who promotes girls in mathematics, someone who promotes female African mathematicians, someone who manages program, an academic manager. So I had to first identify what my strengths were, right? I am someone who likes to manage things. So I had to identify these strengths, which I could amplify using my visibility. Now, after you've identified it, you have to identify which mediums you would use to amplify yourself. So I wrote a lot of mediums on the previous slides. We all don't have to be on everywhere, right? You choose one or more effective mediums that you can use to amplify yourself. I first started, I had a Facebook account and I used that for a while. Then I realized, okay, there was another audience on Twitter. I could go to Twitter. And then I realized, okay, Instagram, okay, I could go. So you choose which medium you can use to reach your audience. Each medium will have its own advantages, disadvantages, but you choose which one works for you. Then finally, you strategize to achieve your goal. Now, you remember the goal. The goal we mentioned was that what? You being visible makes you employable, it makes you get your fans, and it also helps you to amplify your institute or university, right? So you ask yourself, okay, how can I achieve this goal? I want to work at this university in the next 5 years, right? Okay, and this is the identity I'm going to use to get into that university. What mediums am I going to use to amplify myself so that when I put an application to this university, it gives me that strong chance to get in, right? All these are conscious. It doesn't just come by chance that, oh, you're applying, no, it's something you constantly work towards, and that goal gets to be achieved. Now, before I go, I'll just talk about a few successes. So, of people I've met online who have also helped to promote my visibility. So yes, so I mentioned that one way you can make yourself visible is through blog posts, right? So here's a blog post by Vivienne, who works with the World Bank. So she's someone I randomly met online. We had some chat. So she was writing an article about what African youth in STEM, right? But because of the interaction I had with her, she included me and Femme Afrique Mass in that blog post, which will enable me to reach her audience, right, of people who read her articles at the World Bank. Now, there was this article in Nature. It was a career feature. We talked about what I do to promote mathematics in girls in Africa. And this came through a connection of people that I had not even met in person. So people I had first met virtually recommended me to the editors on Nature, and they were able to do this feature of me. And finally, I got to speak at the World Science Forum in Cape Town in December 2022. And the invitation came through social media, right? So I got this invitation that, oh, okay, I was invited to speak. I thought it was a joke. And later on, I found out that I was recommended by people I knew, but that invitation came through social media, and I was able to go to speak about African youth there. And finally, I mentioned my work as a science communicator. So I love to demystify maths among young people. So the Breakthrough Junior Prize is for young people who are interested in science communication. They record a 3-minute video about a concept in science. They submit it, and the winner gets $250,000 for their college scholarship. So I do this science communication thing, and I got invited to be on the evaluation panel of the Breakthrough Junior Challenge. When it first happened, I went to Twitter and I realized, oh, okay, they were following me, the Breakthrough Prize. I thought, yeah, maybe it was a joke. Then later on, the invitation came in. I was like, wow, people are out there watching what you are doing, right? Now, if you want to be in certain place, you have to make people see what you are doing, and they'll be able to invite you to join to promote what you are doing. And I guess I'll end here. I'm in Ghana, and we say thank you as Megasi. So thanks everyone, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Angela.